Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got a 13-year-old lead generation site in the real estate and retirement niche. The site has multiple income streams and makes around $12,500 per month in net profit. The listing number for this one is 40386. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. I've got the seller Scott with us today to go through the business, cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Scott. Really appreciate it, man.
You are welcome.
Let's do a quick summary of the business just to make sure I've got my facts right and our ducks in a row. It was built in June 2003, which makes this one a much older site. Monthly revenue is $14,629 a month. That's a 12-month average. Expenses come in at just over $2,000, giving you net profit of $12,546 a month, again over a 12-month average. You've got 13 years of authority in the niche. You've got a really strong link profile, and you've got 25,000 plus email subscribers. Is that about right?
That's correct, yes.
Awesome, Scott. Well, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running websites and online businesses? How'd you get into this thing?
Okay, well, I didn't actually start the website to begin with to actually make money. It just happened by accident. I came to live in this country in 1999. I loved it. The weather is incredible. The people are friendly and the women are gorgeous. It was a very lovely place to live. And in sharing my passion for the lifestyle here with family and friends back home, I put up a website and started talking about how I went to see the opera at the best in the capital city, and I spent $15 on the best seats. That for me was exciting because the last time I did that in New York, the best seats cost me like $500. So that's how it started, and there was a variety of problems in the real estate market at the time and also in the investment market at the time. So I started writing articles just warning people, the English language subscribers that are out there. And there's a big expat community here who obviously were starved for quality information about what was going on. So I started writing articles about the real estate market. I started writing articles about the investment market. I ended up writing a book about both investments and real estate to help educate and protect the people that I knew from a fairly wide variety of American scam artists in Florida doing their cold calling, selling ocean view land without the ocean view. And from there, that developed a little bit further because then people were saying to me, Scott, well, if you send me a real estate lead, I'll pay you. He was talking about, to be honest with you, but he ended up sending me a check for like $8,000. And I said, well, this isn't actually petty cash. This is, real money. And after that, I decided to, do more real estate marketing for realtors. And I've since done some for some developers too. And it's expanded since then.
So this started off as a real passion project. You went to this Latin American country, which will remain unnamed. This is part of the deal. Went there, fell in love, loved the place, thought it was amazing, started telling people about it, and started to build a site to tell other people about it. And then you kind of fell into making money with this. You realized there was a money-making opportunity and went for it. Can you tell me generally how the site makes money? I know it has multiple earning streams, but what are the main ways that it makes money?
Well, the majority of the income is generated by real estate referrals. So whether that's to a realtor in a particular area, whether that's to a developer, I publish articles on my website. On occasions, we've done lots of videos for a developer too. And when a lead is generated, that lead gets sent to them. And should they make a sale, they give me a percentage of the gross commission. It's my business, so obviously I negotiate whatever I can best negotiate. So some realtors pay me 25% of the gross commission. Some realtors will pay me 50%. Some developers we've done marketing for where it's purely they paid us for article marketing plus videos with no commission. And on other occasions, we've had situations where we've been paid a good commission. I have deals where I'm paid the full 5% as well.
Okay. And do you make any money from other things, AdSense or affiliates or anything like that?
Yeah, AdSense is now minimal. And the reason it's now minimal is my website is a subscription website, which means that a good percentage of the content is behind registration. So I've got probably 5,500 articles on my website with real estate listings as well. And out of that, I'm guessing maybe half have Google AdSense codes on them and the rest don't because they're behind membership subscription management system.
So I'd been to this country years and years ago when I was in the Navy. It's one of the countries I visited, fell in love with it. It was absolutely beautiful. And I remember searching for it after the fact. And I swear, Scott,
And they're still talking about you.
yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. I came across your site. Like I've seen your site before. So that's just kind of funny that, it turns out we're going to help you sell it. But I was wondering, why did you decide to go with the kind of paywall? I was looking at one of your articles last night and yeah, I saw that I was kind of locked out. Unless I create an account, I'm not able to view it. So why did you do that, number one? And then number two, is that part of the 25,000 subscribers? Do they also like have accounts with your site?
Oh yeah. I mean, the 20. I think my last newsletter went out to 24,580 people, something like that. These are all people who've registered on my website. Obviously, I want their email address. Somebody visiting one of my public pages that doesn't actually fill out a form because they're interested in real estate doesn't do me any good. It only does me good if I have their email address and I have a chance to sell them real estate, or, maybe they don't have the money to buy real estate, but maybe they're looking to save a fortune on getting some quality dental care. And as you've seen with the accounts that I sent through to you, the dentist that we promote on my website's received, I think, like 350 patients from me. So he's thrilled. Our patients are thrilled because they've saved like half the money they would save by having, their dental tourism done here rather than being done in the US. And, that's another part of the business that could be expanded dramatically is the medical tourism thing because, hip replacements here, you can get them done for like 20 grand, and in the States, let's say it's 120 grand.
Yeah.
That's a whole huge thing that somebody could get more involved with.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm in Asia. I've been in Asia for almost 6 years, and medical tourism is a big thing out here. I was talking to my mother about she needs to get some dental work, so you should absolutely come to Asia, chill on the beach for a while you get the work done. And I know it's really big in Latin America as well. What a beautiful place to go. Be stuck, right? And I do that with air quotes. Be stuck while you get some dental work done.
Asia is a great option for medical and dental tourism, but for a lot of Americans, it's uncomfortable for them. Maybe it's memories of Vietnam, I don't know, or Russia, I've got no idea. But obviously, for us here in our country, we're a couple of hours flight away.
Let's talk a little bit about why you're looking to sell the site. Why don't you just keep it and continue to grow it? Why are you selling now?
Well, there's a couple. And not to get too personal, I'm 55 years old, 56 in a couple of weeks, and I've always looked after myself, and I've always been very fit. And if you saw me in a pair of swimming trunks, you'd know that, I take care of myself. But I turned 50 and things got a little complicated. I had a muscle which supposedly is hereditary, which I didn't know about. I got rid of that 1 week later. That was 2 years of pain. 1 week after I got rid of the muscle disease, I had hypothyroidism, and I lost 30% of my body weight in 10 weeks, which scared the living crap out of all my friends and certainly my wife. Apart from that, I've been fairly successful in real estate here, and obviously the website's helped with a lot of those connections. I make a lot more money with the investment and the purchase and sale of my personal properties than I do with my website. I love my website. It's my baby, and I want it to go to good hands, and I want it to go to somebody, who will care for it. And obviously, I'm hoping that person will continue to grow with it and to continue to enjoy the profits with it. But, after 13 years now doing this, it's kind of time to move on to other things.
Gotcha. So you're doing better, or making more money at least, in your personal real estate investments, your other investments, and saying, look, you think you've had some medical issues, and you're saying, I think it's time for me to move on, time for me to do something else.
Yeah, I've never done anything for 13 apart from breathing. I've been married for 13 years. I've never lived in the same country for 13 years before, so I've lived here for 16 years. And, I still love living here, but it's time to move on. And to be quite honest with you, I think a new buyer would probably come into this with fresh eyes and would probably see a lot more opportunities that I'm seeing. And I can see a lot of opportunities there. I just don't want to put, I don't want to put the time and energy into it.
It's funny. Sometimes we have sellers that are like, you know what? I think I've tapped this site out. I think I've maximized earnings, right? And so they're selling off, saying, "Oh, okay, well, someone can buy it." And there's no room for growth here, really. They're thinking in the back of their heads, and then a buyer comes in and is like, "What? That seller is crazy. I see so much opportunity here they didn't see because they come from different skill sets and backgrounds." And yeah, that's kind of interesting. So, what do you plan to do with the cash when you sell? I ask some people if they want to go on a vacation to a beautiful island country, but that's probably not the case with you. Are you just going to take it and roll it into real estate investments and other investments?
Yeah, my wife's family is from Guatemala. We have some real estate over there, so that could be an option. But I mean, if we sold it at the price you're asking, I'd be happy. But it's not actually an important sum of money for me. So it's something I would put in the bank here or in one of my other places where I have bank accounts. It's not something that would change my life. And as you pointed out, I live in a beautiful place anyway. I can go to some of the most beautiful beaches of ours at any time. I have a lifestyle that allows me to do that. So that's not a big thing for me. But it is a big thing for me that, we hopefully find a buyer that can share a little bit of the passion that I have for this country and these people. And, the attitude that, the readers on my website are the people we're looking after. And I'm trying to make sure they're guided in the right direction because, there's been a lot of scams here. Well, I mean, there's a lot of scams everywhere. But the sad thing is, the bulk of my readers, the bulk of my members are Americans and maybe 10% Canadians and a few Europeans, etc. But the people that are ripping them off are other Americans. And, my goal always has been to help educate and protect my readers so that they don't get ripped off. And thankfully, our track record in the things that we've recommended has really been impeccable.
Talk to me a little bit about the site history. I know it was built in June of 2003. Was this something, you said it was a passion project. Did it take off immediately or did it take 6 months? Did it take a year? Did it take a couple of years to kind of really start to gain traction? I'm talking in visitors, not necessarily in earnings.
Well, it started very slowly because, again, it started as a hobby, Justin. It wasn't this make money. And at the time, I was making a very significant sum of money in my previous field, which was offshore finance and offshore investments. I spent 10 years on something that was very familiar to me, and I had a lot of very high net worth clients. So, when I came to this country after living in the Cayman Islands for years, I started the website again, just moved a little bit into giving people advice on investments, and I wrote a book on investments, which attracted a lot of attention and brought in a lot of new clients for me because I was like the only man in town that could do the things that I could do. And we're talking about some very sophisticated investment strategies. And then seeing people getting ripped off with real estate investments, I wrote a book about real estate. I sold like 30,000 copies of the book, and the end result was the book got a little bit out of date like 5 years later, and I still haven't updated it. So now I just give it away for free, and I tell people, this was written in 2005. But one of the things I thought would be a good idea for a new buyer is, when a new buyer comes on board, maybe we'll do an updated version of my book. And the book is patented, and we put the new buyer's name on there as the author. And I'm not there anymore, and we start to slide the new guy in, and I start to slide out. It would be a really good icebreaker to get the new guy in town and to build his reputation.
Okay, so you got a trademark on the book. You're going to include that in the sale. So all the rights, the copyrights to the book are included with the sale, correct?
Correct. And I also have, the book title is actually quite long, but I also have the domain name in a slightly abbreviated version, which is active. It's just a very simple site, but it is active. And I'm also including that.
Awesome. Well, Scott, what did you learn from building this website that just seemed to work, that seemed to resonate with, visitors, that seemed to resonate with, the real estate market in the country? Like, what was kind of a win with this one? What was something you learned that you might be able to apply to other areas of your businesses?
I don't want to sound ruthless, but I do what I want to do. What I know is right. I don't listen to people who play around with the law. And there's a lot of people out there that will do things that are not right, but they might be legal. I will never do something that's not legal, and I will certainly never do something that's not right. So for me, I've written about things that I consider to be important. I've written about problems. I don't always look at everything in a positive light. I have certainly written about some of the negative aspects of living in retirement in this country. And I've certainly written a lot about the negative aspects of real estate in this country. But at the end of the day, it's a fantastic place to live. The climate is absolutely unbelievable. The people are divine. Yes, the cost of living has risen over the years, but it's risen everywhere else. And while I remember, to get back to your previous question, Justin, things didn't start off fast because it was a hobby, but I actually started the website as a subscription website where people had to pay to even see anything. And that's also something that a new buyer might want to consider in the future, because that changed for me. And again, this is 13, 14 years ago. That changed for me because it was going gangbusters. The subscriptions were coming in. I was making money. And with the first $5,000 I made, I bought myself a painting, which I still have. Okay, that was my little gift to myself. And a week later, my credit card processor went out of business.
Oh.
Okay, and although it's easy now, 13 years ago, a British guy living in this small country in Central America I couldn't get a credit card processor to even talk to me. So that's when I opened up the website just to membership and not actually charge people. And obviously the real estate market and second homes and retirement communities, all of this is cyclical. And in the good cycle, a few years ago, this site was making me well over $25,000 a month. So I know what's possible, and that's a one-man band. Now, that was me, and I don't even think I had my virtual assistant at that time. So I know what's possible when somebody comes on board with energy and, maybe with some fresh eyes and maybe with a second assistant. I know what's possible.
Have you ever opened up the site completely publicly to where you remove the paywall and put it straight up? It's getting indexed by Google. You're getting all the organic traffic. Have you tried that ever?
But why would I do that?
Well, there are a bunch of reasons people do that. Some of the larger publishers are realizing that the paywall is just not as effective, right? They're able to put ads on there, they're able to put affiliates on there and build authority. So, look, you're not going to be keeping the site. So your plan for the site is less interesting than what some potential buyers may want to do with that. So I'm wondering, from a potential buyer's perspective, have you ever opened up the content? And if not, why not?
Well, a new buyer obviously would be entitled to do whatever he wants with the website. Opening up completely and having, more ads on there might, generate some income. I've simply never done it because I see clearly where the bulk of my income comes, and it's certainly not from advertising. It comes from real estate referrals. And, a lot of the real estate content that I have on my website is public and open to anybody. The real estate listings are completely public, and you don't have to register. But for somebody who's serious, and those are the people obviously that I'm more excited about, and wants to understand how to search for a property in this country if he's buying himself, or I've got literally thousands of articles about living and retirement here, and thousands of articles related to the intricacies of real estate and the purchasing process in our country. I've got videos that I've filmed. In one video I did recently, for example, with an attorney, just the video editing was $500. Well, actually, that was the filming and the editing, which is cheap compared to anything you do in the US, of course. But I want to know who's watching my videos. I want them to register first. I want their email address so I can get a chance to try whatever I can sell them on, whether it's dental tourism or whether it's real estate or anything else for that matter. But if a new buyer wants to open up completely, obviously they're fully entitled to do that. I wish them all the best in the world. Maybe they've got a great idea for the real estate side of things or for the advertising side of things. God bless them.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Because that's a perspective I come from. We're very open, transparent in terms of our content, and we come from the information wants to be free model. And not that I don't want to make money. Trust me, I want to make plenty of money. But I think that opening up the content is an opportunity in that it shows more authority, and you can separate off the pieces where you're making money. Let me ask you: if someone's on your site and they've registered for an account and they're clearly interested in dental tourism, how do you make money with them? Do you get on the phone with them? How does that work exactly?
Oh, God, no. What a horrible idea, Justin, please.
Oh, yeah. No, I would never do that. A gentleman? Listen, I would never get on the phone with them. I would have a process and a funnel. I'm just wondering if you figured that out.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't speak to anybody on the telephone. In fact, you're probably my second phone call today. No, typically what happens is they see an article, and we've got a lot of articles about our dentist, who incidentally is a Blue Cross insurance preferred dentist here in our country. So, he trained in Miami, he's perfect English, he's charming, he's brilliant, he's done, I don't know, many thousands of dental implants. So he's very good at what he does. People see the article with the telephone number, the email address. I have a dental coordinator that works with me, and Charlie calls them up. Charlie pays us What does he pay us? I think he pays us 15% of whatever the investment is with the dentist. Charlie keeps 60% and I keep 40%.
Gotcha. Okay. What have you done with the site that worked like technically? Like, when you change the paywall, when you change from being a subscription based to a free but sign up for account based, did you see any improvements in users? What have you done that really kind of drove traffic? And is there anything you did that didn't drive traffic, that wasn't effective?
Well, I honestly don't do much. And, this is another thing that a new buyer obviously could do. And that is, when it comes to marketing, sending out my newsletter, I have played with sending out press releases. They didn't work particularly well for me years and years and years ago. I did do Google ads and I've done some Facebook advertising and stuff. It's never particularly excited me.
Okay.
But a new buyer probably could do something with that. So my primary marketing vehicle, newsletter, which I send out sometimes twice a week, but absolutely once every week. And I've sent out 900 plus newsletters over the years. My virtual assistant does publish everything on the Wheeler, on my website's Facebook page too. So whatever I publish on my website, she puts on the Facebook page and she handles that sort of stuff. I have no respect for Facebook and it's a big time waste as far as I'm concerned. But I also happen to know people that are making boatloads of money on Facebook. So, maybe I'm missing that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of guys that have kind of followed, I guess, in your footsteps. Younger guys, I know a guy over at Nomad Capitalist. I know the Borderless guys, are building businesses that I think are kind of in a similar vein. I mean, they don't have the real estate slant, but a similar vein for sure. And so this is one of the original sites doing this, which I think is kind of interesting. Tell me a little bit about the traffic. You said most of the traffic is coming from the newsletter, but how do they get on the newsletter? Are they coming to the site via Google searches? Are they coming from referrals from other sites? Are they coming via social media? How do they originally find you?
Well, according to Google Analytics, and I'm not an expert in reading Google Analytics, I should point out, it looks like the majority of the traffic that I get does come from Google and from my newsletter.
Okay, cool.
When anybody sees anything they like, whether it's real estate or dental or anything, and then they get put on one of my lists. I've got my database is broken down to in 50 plus different lists. Whether it's one particular realtor in one particular area, or whether it's one particular developer, or whether it's one type of home, or somebody searching for income producing real estate, another person searching for something. So there's lots of different lists which I try to fine tune. So then when for example, if the realtor in the Caribbean says to me, "This looks fantastic, Scott, it's a great deal, it's drastically undervalued," I can send out that property to his list only.
What percentage of the earnings come from the real estate agents versus the medical tourism versus, other sources?
Okay, give me a second. I'll try and find that for you. Okay, real estate has to be 80 of what I earn. Okay. Tourism, we're probably looking at maybe 20 grand a year, but that certainly could be expanded. And again, I don't do any medical tourism, that's just dental tourism.
Yep.
I mean, right now, Google advertising is probably $12,000. Actually, no, that's not correct. That's not correct at all, that number. No, that's more than a year. Sorry. I mean, right now, Google AdSense is a trivial amount of money. Years and years ago, it was a little bit more important because obviously, again, as we've discussed, more of the site was open, but it's still not significant enough for me to keep it that way. Making $1,000 a month on Google doesn't excite me too much if I'm making today.
Yeah. I mean, AdSense is a pretty lower form of monetization in general. So even with an open site, AdSense ads aren't amazing. So I got a question on the traffic. I was looking at the listing right now, and your page views were through the roof in January 2015. I was wondering if you had a reason for that. And then again, the earnings were through the roof in July 2015. Could you talk about that bump a little bit?
Okay, well, the January thing, I absolutely have no bloody idea whatsoever what happened. None. The traffic exploded. I've got seriously no idea why. No idea. And I'd love to know because whatever it was, I'd like to try and duplicate, but I've got no idea. The July the July income spike was because of pre-construction sales. I was helping a developer that has two projects called Soul Park and Natura Park. To help with marketing on those projects. I like the developer. I trust him. I can't tell you he's a friend of mine, but I know him very well, and he builds quality homes at a price which is much more competitive than the typical home in his niche, which is single-story homes. And the first project Soul Park was two-story homes. So on a price per square meter basis, these were beating the competition. So I did a lot of marketing for him. We made a lot of sales, but obviously these are pre-construction sales, so we didn't get paid until everything was closed. So that's why we had a good month in July, was we got paid on that.
Okay, so that was work
It's
you'd
not
done
something I
previously
do
that you
often.
finally, the payout came in July.
Exactly. It's not something I like to do too often, obviously, because, it's pre-construction. There are risks with pre-construction. There are risks with developers, obviously. But on this, that worked out quite well. I don't currently have any developer I'm working with in pre-construction, although I've been approached by people to help. I haven't got the energy for that at the moment.
One thing that's interesting to me is that, as I understand it, your revenue, your profit comes mostly from one-off business. So you get a piece of the business you send over here, a piece of the business you send over there, but it's not really recurring. And yet the income, at least over the last 12 months, has been relatively stable. I mean, there is some ups and downs a bit, but it's been relatively stable. Have you found that to be the case over the last couple of years?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like any real estate firm. Very rarely can tell you that, they make X dollars per month every single month. 1 month will be good, another month will be great. I mean, the numbers that I sent Sabine and sent you guys was based on the last 19 months worth of income. And, I mean, some months were actually pretty abysmal. I mean, I remember months where perhaps I might have only made $2,000, but then again, there were months where I made, 74 grand.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I mean, I think that applies to a lot of business. Cash flow is certainly nice. Having reliable recurring cash flow is certainly nice, but I can't say I have recurring income in that. Lots of people come down here and get things done from the dentist, so that's fairly regular. But, is somebody per month every single month? The answer to that question is no.
Can you tell me a little bit about how much content is on the site? I think it's like 6,000 pages. Is that right? And then how much are you adding a week right now? You said you're doing one newsletter at least a week, sometimes two. Is that the bulk of the content you're adding today?
Oh, no. The newsletter is a minor amount of content. The most recent article that I put up on the website was 5,655
words.
So there's 5,655 articles.
Okay.
Articles.
Okay.
Separate articles. There could be 300 words. There could be literally an article with one focused either on a specific topic, or I'm looking at one, for example, for a 3-bedroom luxury condo for sale.
How often are you adding those
articles
content
and
right now?
listings?
How often are you adding those articles?
Well, I don't add them. My assistant adds them, but at least every day, at least once a day.
So your assistant, is that your virtual assistant? Your virtual assistant is writing the articles and adding them at least once a day?
Valkyria, yeah.
Okay. And they're writing the articles.
I got articles from I got articles. The people that pay me send me articles, and I don't want any potential buyer thinking that, you don't have to do anything, because yes, in any business, there's a certain amount of work involved, but the realtors that pay me send me listings, and they need to send me the listing, obviously, with a description. They need to send me the listing with the photographs. My virtual assistant puts them on the website for me, and she doesn't activate them, because that's what I do. I spend like 90 seconds looking at it, making sure it's okay. I activate it and program it for publishing either that day or the next day or the following day. My dentist and Charlie, the dental coordinator, they send me articles and stories about what a great job we did with, I can't remember, David, I think was the last guy that we did from Arizona, who came down here and had a phenomenal, telling the entire world how happy he is. And, we have on different topics, different people who send me articles, and we all benefit somewhere along the line. I also have a writer in Australia that articles, even though he's never actually been here, on a specific topic, for example, about a specific area. I'll send him 4 or 5 URLs of similar articles and say, Keith, can you do me an article about this? This should be the focus. And for $20, he sends me an article, sends it back to me. I've got tens of thousands of photographs on my computer, and I've got a new article. Easy. Is
the virtual assistant or your assistant coming with the sale? Are they going to be included or start working for the new buyer as well, or no?
Well, I mean, I think I mentioned this in one of our emails, and, like any business, I don't think it's very easy to guarantee that your employees will stay, the company's acquired, but I do know her name's Valkyria. I do know that she wants work. I do know she enjoys working with me. I pay her $700 a month, which I know is a lot compared to what I'd get for somebody in the Philippines, but she's here, and I like her, and I know it helps her out a lot. I know she doesn't work full time, and that's country. But she does a good job. I know she needs the money, and as long as a new buyer is going to be treating her well, I think she would certainly stay. But whatever happens, if a new buyer is concerned about that, I'd be happy to put them in touch with Valkyria. They can speak on the telephone, and they can get firsthand her reaction, about maybe the site's going to be sold.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, no guarantees. It's really up to the person and what they are going to do next, but the plan would be to do that. Got it. So let's talk a little bit about the opportunities on the site. If you were going to keep the site and not sell the site, you just want to grow it, what areas would you focus on to grow the site out over the next couple of years?
Okay, if and the inclination, what I'd probably be focusing on is to expand the dental tourism thing, because that does make good money. And, I think it's sensible to stick with high ticket sort of items. So getting a small percentage of a high ticket item is obviously a lot more exciting than getting a small percentage of a small ticket item, basic stuff. But apart from that, medical tourism itself is obviously a huge business. And, many of the procedures that people come down to our country from the States, for example, to have done here, again, double hip replacements for 25 grand, which cost 100,000 plus in the United States, that's serious savings.
Yeah.
And that's just one procedure. So medical tourism itself is a huge business. If somebody's seriously interested in getting involved with that business, I do have a lot of contacts, including, owners of some of the private hospitals here that, would certainly help, get it quickly. I do have some interviews on my website with plastic surgeons, and I think I've got a gynecologist on there, but it's just not something I've kind of pushed. They're just people that I know. I mean, my own dentist obviously is on there, and a friend of mine, her gynecologist, who speaks perfect English. She was actually born in New York, but came down here a long time ago and is a wonderful gynecologist. So that's an area that has huge potential. So expanding dental tourism, expanding medical tourism. I've played with, and I repeat, played with tourism. But once again, I really don't want to communicate with people. So, if I hired a travel agent, a specialist, or, I had a deal with a travel firm, I'm sure that could also bring in some money. So, there's just a handful of ideas. I may but, I could have my own car rental business. That could obviously make some money, although that would be obviously very location intensive rather than remote. So there's certainly lots of different things that are possible to increase revenues. A new buyer might want to have a different membership level that they would charge for. And I've actually got something on my site. I haven't launched it, but I called it the Property Association, the Property Owners Protection Association, where I was going to charge a specific fee. I think it was $9.95 to set up, title protection and all sorts of other things for property owners here.
Awesome. Scott, so can you tell me a little bit about the risks with this site? I know that you mentioned it was making about $25,000 a month at one point. So, the earnings have declined. What's to keep the earnings from declining? And then aside from that, what other risks do you think there are for a new buyer? What do they need to look at and be careful with?
Good question. Well, earnings have declined for a variety of reasons. Number, the amount of energy that I'm putting into the business. Number two, obviously I've discussed where I did make $25,000 plus per month, and needless to say, the overall real estate market here, as well as in the United States, was buoyant at that time, and the middle class in the United States at that time was very much more flush with cash. So, yes, we have seen a decline because of that, and it's quite tragic, what we've seen happen in the United States with the middle class, which has been deliberately destroyed, but that's another story. So, a question of energy, a question of market. Are there any other risks involved? I don't think that you could possibly see the market decline any more than it already has. Last year was a pretty good year. And this year has been very, very active indeed. Obviously, if we're only talking a couple of weeks, but the amount of communications that we've seen for the first few weeks of this year have been very, very good. So the website as a business, the way it stands right now, obviously you've got 5,000 plus articles out there, little salespeople working for the buyer 24 hours a day, 365 days, getting leads for the various realtors, getting leads for the dentist, getting leads for the rental cars, et cetera, et cetera. Can somebody make money with this website doing absolutely nothing? Yes, they can, but yes, they will see earnings continue to decline. But that would apply to any business. These 4-hour work week type of guys that thinks you can make $1 million working, a few minutes a day. But, comes in, that maybe more the dental tourism, medical tourism, maybe new subscription levels on the website, new ebooks, new packages to protect people, packages to teach people how to retire here, and maybe obviously people like International Living and other big companies spend a lot of money on advertising their seminars, but they're charging $1,500 and getting 300 people coming down to do a seminar. I mean, there's another big profit. Be interested in taking this to the next level.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the work that you do on the site on a daily or weekly basis today?
Well, I like doing what I'm doing. So, for example, I enjoy writing my newsletters. I don't consider myself a writer, although I've written 3 books. I consider myself a professional scribbler. My grammar sucks, but I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy writing about the place that I live, and I enjoy helping people, whether it's with living and retiring here or buying real estate here. And I'm saying that because I know that some buyers might be thinking to themselves, well, I'm not a writer. That's fine. It's fine. It's easy to find people to write. And as mentioned, I've got people that can write stuff for you for $20. That's easy to do, but I enjoy doing that. So I will spend time writing those articles, and I'm very obsessive with getting my facts straight. But if somebody didn't want to do that, obviously they don't have to spend all that time. They can have the VA do the research. They can have writers do. But yeah, people have to be followed up, and you've got to keep track of things.
This is kind of a side note, but do you think that having this site and kind of meeting the people that have come down, because I'm guessing you've done some of that, like, has it helped kind of your social situation there? I mean, have you made some like good friends, like lifelong friends and connections via the site on people that have come down and bought real estate?
Well, yeah, I certainly have. I mean, for me, yes, the site makes me money, but I get my biggest thrill is, I get emails on a regular basis that goes something along the lines of, dear Scott, I've been reading your newsletter for 7 years, and last month my wife and I finally closed on the home we've always wanted. We can't tell you how happy we are. Love so-and-so. I get those every other week from somebody, and I don't even know if I got paid for that transaction, but it just makes me happy to know that one of my readers followed our advice. Things went well for them. They came down here. It's a new life. It's a new country. It's a new culture. And they're thrilled. And they took the time out of the day to send me an email. I mean, that really makes me feel good because I've changed hundreds of people's lives. I've helped protect thousands of people who've come down here and lost or would have lost lots of money with all these various scam artists, primarily, again, people in Florida boiler rooms selling ocean view land without the ocean view.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, a lot of people respect me and they like me because I am a no bullshit direct son of a bitch. So, if I see something I don't like, I will use words in the best possible way that I can to somebody about possible problems with a developer or a realtor, bearing in mind that slander and defamation in some places can get very complicated. So, yeah, it's if somebody wanted to use it to become, they would be very, very social. But my social life tends to be more Spanish than with expats.
Gotcha. Okay, so I have some additional questions here, so just some additional information that our buyers may want to know. One of the concerns in buying this is that you've been doing this for many, many years, more than a decade. The site's been around for more than a decade. I don't want you to sell me the business and turn around and compete with me. I mean, you obviously have all those connections. You have all the relationships. Would you be willing to commit to a non-compete in this space?
Absolutely. I have absolutely no desire whatsoever to remain in this niche.
Okay. And then another question is that I'd want to know that the turnover is smooth. How much support are you offering a buyer of this business?
Discussed this with, I think, with Andrew. And, technical aspects of the website are actually fairly simple because I use a subscription management system. Okay, it's a specific company. I believe they're in California. And I don't want to sound too sort of superlative, but it's the best company that I've done business with in 40 years of doing business in 10 countries on 3 continents. I love them all to death.
Who is
so, that? The actual system, well, it's a company called membergate.com.
Oh, okay, cool.
Membergate.com. It's a subscription management system. And again, it's the best company of any kind I've done business with in 40 years of doing business in 10 countries on 3 continents. So to learn how to use the actual website is fairly simple because the tutorials are easy. There's lots of video tutorials, et cetera, So it'll be fairly simple. If they have a problem of any kind, they can always email me. I would suggest that 60 days would be plenty of time to get the hang of the website. During that time, if somebody's a little skittish about actually putting their face out there, their name out there, or their manager's name out there, whoever they want to be the person in charge of the website, I'm happy during that time to continue writing the newsletters. We might, depending on how involved the new buyer want to become, we perhaps repurposing a few of the articles using the author and then slowly sliding him into the picture because, as you point, 13 years now, we want to try and I think we probably want to try and bring somebody else, some other persona, into the scenario. So it's not just Scott as the expert in real estate here and living in retirement in this country. It's somebody else. Maybe we've got a new business manager, we'll call him, or something like that.
Yeah.
But then again, I think there might be a buyer, Justin, who doesn't.
Yeah, I think slowly transitioning someone in would probably be the best move to the newsletter, and that kind of thing would kind of make sense. So I feel like a buyer could be supported in terms of buying this and being comfortable taking it over. One of the questions we get is, obviously, all cash upfront offer would be perfect. You would take that. Sometimes, though, for businesses like this, where they want to make sure they're getting trained or they want to make sure the turnover is smooth, they may want to do some kind of split or earn out. Let's say 70% up front and 30%, after training in 60 days, or they want to do 60% up front and 40% over the next 6 months. Are you open to some kind of earn out or payout situation like that?
I'll listen. I mean, for me, there is, who is the buyer? I need to know who the buyer is very well before I would commit to something like that. Obviously, I want to know how committed they would be. I'm serious about selling the business. It's been good to me. It is my baby. I want it to go to good hands. I'd prefer not to sell it than to sell it to somebody that I don't think will, or somebody that perhaps, probably wouldn't make it work. But 60 days probably would be a good time. I would give them, I think superb support via email or WhatsApp. They can deal obviously direct with the virtual assistant during that time as well. That's not a problem. I can introduce them to all the various providers that I work with. That's not a problem. I can continue to monitor new articles, et cetera, et cetera. But after the 60 days, hopefully at that time they know exactly what's going on. They know who to push, when to, if it's required. And, maybe they haven't received any articles from one particular realtor for a while. They might give them a quick email or ask the virtual assistant to send them a quick email. And that's another thing. The virtual assistant probably could work more hours. So, a new buyer might want to suggest to her that, you're going to have additional responsibilities. I don't know if she'll ask for more money or not, but I think it would be a fairly simple matter to give her more responsibilities.
Great. All right, Scott. So I'm going to do a quick wrap up here, just to remind everyone. This is again in the real estate retirement niche in a Latin American country. The business was built in June 2003. It's been around for almost 13 years. Monthly revenue a little over $14,000. Expenses $2,000 a month, and net profit $12,500, and that's an average over the last 12 months. It's got 13 years of authority. It's got a really strong link profile. It's got 25,000-ish subscribers, and those are people with actual accounts on the site. Scott, if you give me in the next 30 seconds, what's your best pitch on why someone should purchase this site?
Well, I gave up pitching when I left Wall Street, but I would say that having been around since 2003, my website is obviously a very well-established, highly regarded real estate and lifestyle website with significant upside potential.
Awesome, Scott. Thank you. And for anyone listening to this, let's say you're listening to this on YouTube or someplace other than Empire Flippers, there's a link in the show notes that will take you over to the listing. You can get more details about this listing for sale. If you're on the listing at empireflippers.com and you want more information, and you're on listing 40386, look it up in the top right-hand corner. There's a refundable deposit you can place. That'll give you all the information, including the URL, all the earnings history, all the traffic history, and you can make an informed due diligence decision on whether this site is right for you. Again, Scott, thank you so much.
You're